trap.
Well, USC and UCLA are on their way out of the Pac-12, and I think I speak for the remaining members when I ask,
If so powerful you are, why leave?
it's quite funny to hear USC complain about not making enough from the Pac-12 when the reason why is partially on them. I mean, they're the biggest program in the biggest market in the conference's footprint, and they've been irrelevant for over a decade. Believe it or not, that might negatively affect what kind of offers Fox and ESPN will put forward. Regardless, USC is leaving, and first of all, please do hit your head on the way out. And secondly, let's take a look at all the times Oregon State got the better of the Trojans. Before we get into the list, this video was made in cooperation with BeaverBlitz.com, the best place on the internet for breaking news and analysis of all things Oregon State athletics. Also be sure to check out the Beaver Blitz YouTube channel, where you can find interviews with players, coaches, and the Damn Podcast, hosted by Angie Machado and Carter Bonds. These are Oregon State's top 5 football wins over USC. Number 5, 2021. The most recent game between the Beavers and the Trojans, and boy, it was a historic one. The Beavers rolled the Trojans 45-27 in the Coliseum, the first victory for the Beavers against the Trojans in LA in 61 years, and their largest road win in series history. After a fairly even first half, the Beavers erupted in the late third and early fourth quarter, building a lead as large as 25 in front of a stunned Coliseum crowd. The Oregon State ground game was dominant, racking up 322 yards on 51 carries, while holding the Trojans to only 76 yards on 22 carries. Early season Heisman candidate Keaton Slovis, boy that's funny to say in hindsight, was a non-factor, throwing only 1 touchdown against 3 interceptions. Ranks low on the list because USC was bad last year, but it always feels good sticking it to the Trojans in their Coliseum. Number 4, 2000. 2000 is probably the best season in the history of Oregon State's football program. The year ended with a home victory over a top 5 Oregon team, a Pac-12 championship, and a 41-9 drubbing of Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. But their conference play that year began with a home game against 8th-ranked USC, led by future Heisman winner Carson Palmer. Neither quarterback could get in a good rhythm, however. Palmer was still a few years from his Heisman season and was up and down, completing only 19 of 38 passes with 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Beavers quarterback and current head coach Jonathan Smith wasn't much better, completing only 10 of 29 passes with 1 touchdown. However, this game, like the 2021 contest, was decided in the trenches. USC again struggled to run the ball, amassing only 63 yards on 30 carries. Meanwhile, Ken Simonton ran all over the USC defense, amassing 234 yards on 37 carries and totaling 3 touchdowns. The game was the Beavers' first win over the Trojans in 33 years and kicked off conference play for the most successful season in school history. Number 3, 2006. Much like how Oregon has come to loathe trips to the state of Arizona, USC loathed the trip to Corvallis in the late 2000s. The first of the upsets was in 2006 when the 3rd-ranked Trojans marched into Corvallis undefeated and on course for the BCS championship game. What was expected to be another easy win for the Trojans turned into a nightmare, as after a field goal with 4:41 left in the third, the Trojans were staring at a 33-10 deficit. The Trojans battled back, however, with John David Booty throwing 3 touchdowns in the final 16 minutes to cut the deficit down to only 2 points with 7 seconds to go. The Trojans only needed a 2-point conversion, which they had already done once in the quarter, to force overtime. On the 2-point try, however, Booty's pass was batted down by defensive lineman Jeff Van Orso. The loss was USC's first regular season loss in September of 2003. Number 2, 2008. Surely it couldn't happen again, right? Unbeaten USC on the path to a BCS championship game appearance. There's no way, right? Well, try telling that to Jaquiz Rogers. USC managed only 86 yards on the ground, while Quiz got 186 by himself. Lyle Moivau managed the game excellently, passing for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was, however, equaled by Mark Sanchez, who threw for 227 yards and 3 touchdowns on 18 of 29 passing. Sanchez brought the Trojans back from a 21-0 hole, but as the fourth quarter wound down, the bright lights of Reser Stadium proved too bright. Just past the 3-minute mark, with Sanchez under pressure, his pass intended for Damian Williams sailed high and was intercepted by Greg Laybourne, who returned the ball to the USC 2-yard line. Quiz punched it in on the next play, and although SC scored again, they failed to recover the onside kick. Not only did Oregon State upset the Trojans for a second straight time in Corvallis, it was their first win over a number 1 ranked team in 41 years. Wonder what that game 41 years ago was like. And number 1, 1967. '67 was a pretty good year for the Beavers. Despite 2 midseason losses to Washington and BYU, the Beavers finished their season on a historic run, becoming the only team in AP poll history to go unbeaten against 3 top 2 teams in one season. Not Alabama, not Ohio State, not Oklahoma, not Texas, not Florida, not Notre Dame. The Beavers are the only team that has accomplished this. The Beavers had already beaten second-ranked Purdue in West Lafayette and had recently drawn with second-ranked UCLA in the Rose Bowl when they welcomed top-ranked USC to Corvallis. Fun fact, this was USC's first ever trip to Corvallis. All previous games played outside of LA had either been played in Portland or Tacoma. How about that? California Governor and future President Ronald Reagan made the trip to Corvallis to watch the game and actually made a bet with Oregon Governor Tom McCall that he would handpick a box of oranges for him if Oregon State won the game. Anyway, onto the game itself. So, USC rolled into town ranked number 1 in the country, winning by an average of 20 points against a pretty tough schedule, and having the leading rusher in the nation and future Heisman winner, O.J. Simpson. The Trojans' first play from scrimmage was a 40-yard run from Simpson, but the drive stalled out and the Trojans were forced to settle for a 36-yard field goal which sailed wide to the right. The Trojans never got closer to the end zone for the rest of the game. After recovering a USC fumble at the Trojans' 47-yard line, the Beavers marched 34 yards in 8 plays before settling for a 30-yard field goal. They actually had another chance before the half to get another field goal on the board, but the try from 28 yards out sailed right and the score remained 3-0 at halftime. With only 3 minutes left, linebacker Skip Vanderbilt forced O.J. Simpson to fumble and Jess Lewis came up with the recovery. On the ensuing drive, the Beavers managed to get 2 first downs, their only 2 of the second half, but it was enough. The win cemented a season of upsets by the Beavers and earned them the nickname the Giant Killers. Reactions from the USC side of this are all kinds of hilarious. First of all, it's unclear if Reagan ever handpicked that box of oranges for McCall. Bad form there, Ronald. Politicians are supposed to keep campaign promises. USC coach John McKay complained about the wet conditions of the Parker Stadium grass. Man, it was Oregon in mid-November. What did you think the weather would be like? Trojans AD Jess Hill told LA newspapers that an AAWU rule would be passed requiring teams to use tarps the week prior to the game, and Reagan even said that he would help Oregon State purchase a tarp and then donated a single dollar to them. When he got wind of these comments, Beavers coach Dee Andros countered by saying that he would consider using a tarp if the LA schools installed giant fans to blow the smog out of the Coliseum. How's that for a Southern California burn? All I gotta say to the Trojans is if they were bothered by a wet field in Corvallis, have fun playing in the snow in Minnesota. And that's the list. Thank you again to Beaver Blitz for working with us on this video. We had a lot of fun putting it together. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop it a like. It really helps out the channel. And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.